Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of Get Real with Real Estate. I'm at my open house chilling right now, and I haven't had any traffic in about 30 minutes, so I figured why not provide you guys with some tidbits of info as I sit here. So would love to maximize my time with you, and was ultimately thinking about how John and I did a few Get Real with Real Estate episodes recently on HOAs and also Melrose. And so we got to talk a lot about those in the last episodes of Get Real with Real Estate, and today I want to talk about special assessments. So we talked about Melrose and how it applies to a local either ordinance or part of a city where, you know, the city will implement what's called a Melrose tax, and it's kind of a special assessment. But when you live in an HOA, you can actually get slapped with something called a special assessment. And we have clients all the time who reach out to us and they say, hey guys, I just got this weird letter in the mail from the HOA. You know, maybe they've lived there 3 or 4 years and it's the first time they're interacting and getting familiarized with a special assessment. So what is a special assessment? It's not our favorite thing to happen if we live in an HOA. It's basically when the reserves of an HOA are not large enough to sustain a large project that's needed. So for example, we sold a property last year that was undergoing a remodeling project, and the complex had just gotten hit with a special assessment, which meant that every residence had to come up with a certain amount of money to help offset the cost of those maintenance and repairs. So in this particular example, the complex was undergoing a full roof replacement. So on a typical home, like right now I'm sitting in a 1,500 square foot home, and you know that roof could run you anywhere, let's say 10 to 15K, depending on your roof guy. Well, when you're talking a massive complex with 40, 50 units in there, the roof in itself could be upwards of, you know, $80,000, $100,000. So let's just say, you know, all of a sudden something very dramatic happens. A big storm whips through San Diego and we need a roof repair here, and it's $100,000. And in our HOA, our private reserves are, let's just say, at $40,000. I can pretty much guarantee you a special assessment is coming, because in that simple math, you know, this is all just rough numbers, but in that simple equation, that simple example, if the complex needs roughly $100,000 for roof replacement and they've only got $40,000 in the bank account in their private reserves, where do you think that additional $60K is going to come from? You've got it, the residents. So the residents of that complex get slapped with what's called a special assessment. They're given a certain amount of time to pay, and if they can't comply and pay the special assessment, the HOA will get involved. They will have fees associated. In certain instances, the HOA can even start to take possession of the property, depending on how much you know, is due and what that starts to add up to. So for those of you living in an HOA community, it is very important when you're purchasing a HOA that you not only have a competent agent that's helping you and a competent lender that's really helping you review the financials of the HOA, but it is very important that you are also reviewing those financials, going through the documents that the HOA provides to you that show financials, that show upcoming work. Those financials will show any impending special assessments. And sometimes just by recognizing, so for example, there was a client that I had recently who was very interested in a complex with a pretty high HOA. It was almost $400 a month HOA. And when we reviewed the financials were in pretty dire shape. Basically, not a lot of private reserves whatsoever. The HOA was not very healthy. And with a $400 a month HOA, the building was looking really bad. It was looking really shoddy. And in my eyes, I could see impending work that was going to have to come up in the next 10 years. I saw roofing that definitely looked like it was going to need replacing over the next 10 years. I saw a lot of termite damage. I saw some cracking, which could be indication of some foundation issues. So I saw a lot of deferred maintenance and a lot of things that were making me nervous within the complex for having a pretty high HOA. Because typically if a client's spending $300-400 a month on an HOA, I am making sure that complex is looking prime. So the fact that it wasn't looking prime, plus did not have good reserves, did not have good financials, it was a property that I talked my client out of moving forward on. And we are going to find a much better property with much better financials. So for those of you who are looking for a condo, if this is not something your agent has already forewarned you about or has been really holding your hand through the process of reviewing financials, reviewing the reserves, making sure that you're partnered with a solid lender who can also do those things, you get to reach out to us if that's if that's not the experience that you've been having, so that we can connect and help you through it. Because HOAs, when you're purchasing one, it is very important to be doing this due diligence. You'll want to make sure that the investment that you're making in the condo is a solid one, and that 6 months in you're not going to get slapped with a special assessment for, let's say, $4,000 or $5,000 to replace the roof that you've just moved underneath. So we ultimately are here to help you see success in your HOA type purchase, whether that be a condo, a townhome, even sometimes single family homes have HOAs, and these are things that you want to discover within the HOAs and the private reserves and the financials, because ultimately, even in a residency with single family homes, maybe the road maintenance isn't being accounted for, and you want to make sure that even as a residence within an HOA that you won't be slapped with a special assessment, even if it comes down to, for example, road maintenance. And that condo that I mentioned, the roof being replaced for our clients, they actually got slapped with a $4,000 special assessment. They'd lived there for 3 or 4 years. They, were aware of what was happening. They were actually a part of the board, so they had been a part of the votes leading up to the special assessment. But long story short, because the roof needed replacing and the reserves were not high enough to replace it, each resident was required to come up with $4,000 additional dollars. So just something to keep in mind as you guys are looking at HOA properties. While they are on the cheaper side, each property is very unique and comes with its own positives and negatives. So definitely excited to chat with you guys about what you're looking for and how we might be able to help you navigate into finding the perfect spot. This was episode, I think, 35 already of Get Real with Real Estate. So looking forward to connecting with you guys more. Definitely post any questions that you have about special assessments, HOAs, or just in general things that you'd love to learn about on Get Real with Real Estate, because we would love to help keep you informed. Talk to you soon, you guys.